Joining me now, NBC's Leanne Caldwell on Capitol Hill, former RNC chairman Michael Steele, and Stephanie Cutter, former deputy senior advisor to President Obama. Thank you all for being here today. Leanne, let me start with you. Last week in Orlando, Kevin McCarthy said basically that Cheney's future in the conference is still up to the members. But as we heard there from him on Fox News today, he's basically saying people are starting to express concerns about her to me. And that really is a shift from several months ago when she did have this support. What's the latest? And did Liz Cheney know that the Republican leader was about to go out and say all of this in public?
Well, it is a big shift, Casey, because when there was a vote on if she should keep her position as conference chair a few months ago, Leader McCarthy got up and spoke on behalf of her and defended her and said that the party has to be a big tent, has to include people like Liz Cheney, who are critical of the former president, and also the president's supporters as well. And that is drastically different than the tone that you are hearing right now from Leader McCarthy, where he refuses to defend her, not only at a press conference last week, but he went on Fox News this morning where he was expected to be asked about this and did not defend her now. Now, a spokesperson to Liz Cheney says that they were not given a heads up that McCarthy was going to make these statements on Fox News today. And now there's a back and forth, not just between Cheney and the former president through competing statements, but now through Cheney and Leader McCarthy. Her spokesperson in a statement said that this is about the 2020 election, and this is about insisting that the party is not going to perpetuate lies about the 2020 election and attempt to whitewash what happened on January 6th. Liz will not do that. That is the issue. And that is what allies to Liz Cheney are reminding people, that she is the one who is telling the truth. She is the one who is not willing to give in to the big lie that the former president is saying, that the election was stolen, and that she is in trouble because she is willing to take that stance, which she thinks should not be controversial among the Republican Party. But as we're seeing, as she is under threat of her leadership position, it in fact is, Casey.
So, Michael Steele, let's talk about 2022, because it does seem to be trying to regain the majority that is what has got Republicans acting this way. They clearly just don't want to step out and respond to former President Trump the way Liz Cheney is willing to. They spent basically 4 years doing that. What's the impact of that in the future? Do you think that it's correct to believe that they're only going to win back the majority if, in fact, they go along, keep their mouths shut, don't poke the bear that is Donald Trump, essentially?
I don't see how that logic follows. I mean, they act like the American people aren't watching this narrative unfold, that we're not assessing their leadership as they try to take out the only woman in Republican leadership for speaking truth to power, for being honest with the American people. So you want to shut her down, push her out, and then come back to the American people, say, hey, elect more folks like us. I don't know if that narrative plays out for them, but that's the calculation. Kevin McCarthy wants to be Speaker of the House so bad he can taste it. And he doesn't want anything to spoil that taste in his mouth. And so he has gone to Mar-a-Lago to affirm that opportunity. He's now turned his back on Liz Cheney because it works narratively for him inside the caucus. As his members are saying all this stuff, he's now taking this outside position that he did not hold just 2-3 months ago. Nothing's changed, except Liz Cheney has stayed true to who Liz Cheney is. That's the only thing that's changed, is him and those inside the caucus who don't want to be outside of Trump, or as they try to avoid primary challenges, avoid, Republicans staying at home in November of next year, because they took the principled position and shut down the big lie. Liz is willing to take that risk. 2022 be damned.
She's playing clearly a very long game here. Yes. And I think you're correct in pointing out McCarthy's interests in the closer, nearer term future. Stephanie Cutter, if you're Democrats, you're watching this play out. I mean, history is against any party that holds the House, Senate, and the White House in their first midterm election. The majority the Democrats have in the House is already so narrow. How does what's happening, though, with Republicans affect how Democratic strategists look at this map and think about how they're going to try to hang on to that narrow majority?
Well, I think, Michael is right in saying that nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is that McCarthy has got himself all twisted in terms of how he's managing Trump. It's not about Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney is really just standing by her position and standing by the truth. And she'll be rewarded for that, regardless of whether or not she stays in leadership. If that caucus moves her out of leadership, they're going to make her a national hero. Where people will really rally around her for standing up to Donald Trump. We've seen this before. This is not what Kevin McCarthy should be talking about, and clearly he doesn't want to be talking about this. Every time we talk about January 6th, it reminds people that it was not just Donald Trump, but Donald Trump and his Republican allies that led to the insurrection of the Capitol. That's no platform to be running on to take back the House. If he takes back the House, these are swing districts that he's targeting. Talking about Donald Trump and January 6th and the insurrection and Kevin McCarthy and the Republican caucus marching in lockstep with Donald Trump is not a winning strategy to win back those seats.
No, it's a good point. Michael Steele, do you think, to Stephanie's point, that if Liz Cheney is ousted from leadership, it just makes her profile bigger and her hand stronger?
Oh, absolutely. Look, she already has strength right now. That's part of their problem, why this hasn't happened sooner. When she stood in front of that podium about a month ago and Kevin McCarthy had thought he was finished, and the reporters asked her a question about Trump, and she laid down some more street cred about, what Trumpism is inside the party. That was the signaling of the split. And a lot of people saw her as a profile of courage because she is going against her political self-interest. And we haven't seen a politician do that inside the GOP. And I think it's making a big difference for her. And yeah, she's going to be someone to contend with going forward.
Booze for Mitt Romney, a higher profile potentially for Liz Cheney, just a handful of folks taking this line. Michael Steele, Stephanie Cutter, Leanne Caldwell, thank you all for starting us off today. We really appreciate